Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to continue with rest of the general prologue by Geoffrey Chaucer. So let's start. A sergeant of the law, war and wise. So here we are introduced to another character who is a legal expert, sergeant of the law, who is both very experienced and wise. The use of war here means skill and a level of cunning in legal matters that a sergeant carries, that often had been at the parvis. So the term parvis refers to the outside of St. Paul's Cathedral, a common meeting place for legal professionals where legal disputes were undertaken. And this line suggests that he frequently participated in legal proceedings. There was also full rich of excellence. So here Chaucer describes the sergeant of the law as being rich in expertise and distinguished in his profession, indicating a high level of competence and respect. Discreet he was and of great reverence. So the word discreet suggests that the sergeant is prudent and careful in his judgments and dealings. Of great reverence here means he is well respected and held in high regard by others. He seemed switch his words weren't so wise. So this phrase, he seemed switch, continues the notion of his outward appearance. His speech is characterized as wise, suggesting that he makes astute observations and judgments in his profession. Justice he was full often in ace. So ace refers to sessions of courts. So this line indicates that he often delivered justice, highlighting his role as a legal practitioner who upholds the law by patent and by plain commission. So a patent refers to a legal document providing authority, while plain commission refers to a clear commission. This means he is formally authorized to act in legal matters, further establishing his credentials for his science and for his high renown. Science here means to knowledge or expertise, and while high renown suggests he has high reputation, and this shows his status as an earned individual in law. Of fees and robes had he many own. So this line suggests that he possessed many fees, payments or salaries and robes, signifying his status in the legal profession, further attesting to his success and standing. So great purchaser was nowhere known. So purchaser means someone who acquires or gains possibly wealth or land. This means he was unparalleled in his ability to acquire successes and resources. All was fee simple to him in effect. So here we see that this means all fees, legal fees or possibly bribes, were simple and straightforward to him, hinting at his adeptness in legal matters and transactions. His purchasing might not be in fact. So in fact suggests corruption or tainting, and this line asserts that his dealings were above reproach, implying integrity in his acquisitions, which is significant for a legal professional. Nowhere so busy a man as he their nas. So this line emphasizes that he was the busiest man anywhere, perhaps in indicating his extensive involvement in legal affairs and his diligence, and yet he seemed busier than he was. So despite his busy appearance, there's a suggestion that he may not have been as occupied as he seems, possibly hinting at a level of showmanship or the performance of busyness. Here in terms had he gas and dooms ale. So here we see that sergeant of the law possessed extensive knowledge of legal cases and judgments. Termes refers to legal terms or cases. It suggests he was well versed in the law itself, that from the time of King William were fall. So King William refers to William the Conqueror, marking the beginning of a significant era in English legal history. This implies that the sergeant had knowledge of legal matters dating back to this important time, underscoring his expertise and depth of experience. There too he could indict and make a thing. So the term indict means to compose or prepare legal documents or judgments. This shows his skill in drafting legal texts and opinions, reinforcing his competence as a legal authority that could know why pinch at his writing. So here Pinch suggests that no one could criticize or find fault with his writings, and this line emphasizes the precision and legality of his written communications, indicating that his work was respected and above reproach. And every stot could he plain by rote. This means he could recite every statute, means law, from memory by rote. Rote means from memory. It shows his thorough familiarity with the law, portraying him as both knowledgeable and authoritative in legal matters. He rode but homely in a maddle coat. Rude means he rode, indicating his mode of travel, and middle coat means to a mixed or simple coat, suggesting a humble appearance despite his distinguished profession and capabilities. Girt with a scent of silk with berries smell. Girt means he wore a belt which was made of silk and featured small bars. This detail indicates a subtle richness in his attire, hinting at his status without being overtly ostentatious. Of his array tell I no longer tale. So here we see that this suggests that the speaker will say no more about his attire. Array means attire. It indicates that Chaucer may be moving on from the description of his appearance, transitioning the focus back to the character's profession and virtues. A Franklin was in his campaign. So here we see that Franklin as a member of the group is introduced here again, and it sets the social context, suggesting he is a person of some means, likely well respected. Fit was his bird, as is the days. So his white beard compares his age and wisdom to a daisy, emphasizing purity and perhaps how he is a nature-loving person. Of his complexion, he was sanguine. So describing his complexion as sanguine indicates that he is healthy, cheerful and good-natured, aligning with his character traits. Well loved he by the more a soap in wine. Highlights his indulgent habits. He enjoys soup in wine each morning, reflecting a life of luxury and pleasure. To liven and delight was ever his wont. Here we see that this establishes his life philosophy. Living in pleasure is his routine, suggesting an emphasis on enjoying worldly comforts. For he was Epicurus' own son. So the reference to Epicurus, a philosopher who promoted pleasure as the ultimate good and showcased the Franklin's belief in seeking happiness in tangible pleasures that held opinion that plain delight. So reinforcing that he values simple pleasures, indicating a down-to-earth nature despite his wealth. Was verily felicity perfect. He considers that true happiness or perfection can be found in these simple delights, showcasing his approach to happiness with a philosophical undercurrent. And a householder, and that agreed was he. So he is great householder, suggesting he manages a large estate with many responsibilities, indicating social standing and importance. Saint Julian, he was in his country, so portrays him as a figure of hospitality, likening him to Saint Julian, the patron saint of hospitality. This underlines his generous nature. Here we see his breed, his ale was always afternoon. So he maintains consistent quality in his bread and ale, showcasing his attention to detail and standards in what he provides for others. A better envied man was nowhere known. Claims there's no one better at providing wine, showcase his expertise and perhaps the pride he takes in his selections. Without baked meat was never his house. insists that baked goods are a staple in his household. This implies a culture of plentiful and satisfying meals, highlighting his lavish lifestyle of fish and flesh, and that so plenteous. So, states that his household is abundant in food, both fish and meat. This reinforces the image of a hospitable, bountiful home. It's nude in his house of meat and drink. So the metaphor suggests that food and drink are as plentiful as snow, emphasizing generosity and abundance of ale daintiness that men could think. Confirms that he provides every kind of delicacy imaginable, further painting a picture of excess and variety in his hospitality after the sundry seasons of the year. So indicates that his meals change with the seasons, reflecting both his resourcefulness and culinary skill. So changed he his meat and his supper highlights his ability to adapt meals seasonally, implying he is a thoughtful and attentive to the dining experience and its variety. Now here we see full many a fat partridge had he is moved. So this indicates that the character owns many fat partridges in his preserve. New means preserve. This portrays him as someone with considerable wealth and resources, suggesting a lifestyle of abundance and many a bream and many a loose in stew. So here the speaker describes his possession of bream, a type of fish, and pike, a type of fish, another type of fish, referred to as luce in Middle English, in the pond or fish stew, stew. This shows or emphasizes his wealth and affluence in enjoying varied delicacies. Woe was his cook, but if his sauce were. So this line hints at the skill of the cook, implying that the quality of the sauce is crucial. The use of woe suggests that the cook would face trouble if he didn't meet high culinary standards. Poignant and sharp and ready all his gear. So the cook's sauces are described as poignant and sharp, meaning flavorful and perhaps tangy or spicy. Ready all his gear suggests that the cook always had his tools and ingredients prepared, showcasing efficiency and skill in cooking. His table dormant in his hall always. So a table dormant refers to a permanent table, likely in his large hall. It indicates that his home is a place of hospitality and feasting, suggesting a welcoming atmosphere for guests. Stood ready, covered at the long day. So the phrase suggests that the table was always set and ready for meals throughout the day. This reflects his generous and lavish lifestyle, always prepared to entertain guests. At sessions there was he, lord and sire. Sessions here refers to sessions of the local court or gatherings for governance, implying he held a high position or a position of authority. Lord and sire suggests that he was a person of high rank, respected in his community. Full of time he was knight of the shire. So this line indicates that he was often appointed as a knight of the shire, underscoring his social status, land ownership and importance in local governance. And unlace and a gypser or all of silk. So an unlace, it is a type of dagger, and gypser, a purse or pouch made of silk, indicate his wealth and taste for luxurious items. This adornment emphasizes his social standing. Hing at his girdle, wit as morn milk. This suggests that the items hung from the girdle belt are pristine and white, symbolizing cleanliness, purity, and perhaps the luxurious nature of his possessions. A sherv had he been, and a contour. So, sherv means sheriff, and contour means a tax collector or accountant. Indicates that he has held significant civic roles, showcasing his influence, authority and responsibility within the community. Was nowhere such a worthy Vavasur. So Vavasur refers to a landed proprietor of feudal rank. The description emphasizes that there was no one quite like him in worth, presenting him as an ideal representation of a prosperous and respectable landowner. And haberdasher and a carpenter. So these line introduces two members of a trade guild. A haberdasher is a dealer in small wares such as buttons and sewing materials, while a carpenter is someone who constructs with wood. A wabe, a dyer, and a tapicer. So here other trades are mentioned. Wabe refers to a weaver, dyer to a dyer, one who colors cloth, and tapicer to a tapestry maker. Together, these professions highlight the variety of crafts represented, and they were clothed all in a livery. So all these men are dressed in a uniform or livery, which signifies their membership in a guild and also suggests a sense of solidarity and community among them, of a solemnity and a great fraternity. So the livery is described as solemn and indicative of a large fraternity, underscoring the important social and professional connections among these tradesmen. Full, fresh, and new her gear applied was. So the term gear refers to their attire, indicating that it was fresh and newly styled, emphasizing their status and pride in appearance. His knives were shaped not with brass. So their knives are not made with brass, which suggests a lack of quality or status. Instead, this indicates that they are made of silver, a material of higher value. But all with silver, wrought full, clean, and wheel. So the use of silver for their knives signifies wealth and implies that they take care in their possessions, showing refinement and good taste. Higher girdles and his pouches every deal. So this line refers to their belts. Girdles means belts and bags. Pouches means bags, which are also well crafted, hinting at their overall prosperous and respectable appearance. Well seemed each of him a fair burgess. So each of them appears to be a prosperous burgess. Burgess means bourgeois, a term for a wealthy citizen or townsman, emphasizing their standing in society. To sit in a guild hall on a days. So they are well suited to sit in a guild hall, indicating or discussing local issues or decisions, which signals their active involvement in civic life. Average for the wisdom that he gained. So each man possesses wisdom, implying that they are not only skilled tradesmen but also knowledgeable and capable of holding leadership roles. Was sharply for to be an alderman. So the phrase sharply for to be suggests that each man is fit to be an alderman, a respected member of the municipal council, highlighting their societal importance. For cattle head they know and rent. So they have enough wealth, means cattle means they have enough wealth. Again, rent here means that income to afford their positions, indicating that their financial status allows them to participate in civic duties. And eke her wives hold it well assent. So their wives would also approve of their roles and status, emphasizing the familial support behind their professional lives. And ill certain were they to blame. So if their wives disagreed, there would be shame or blame attached, indicating gender roles and the importance of family reputation during this era. It is full fair to being ye claimed madame. So the mention of madame denotes the importance of titles and respectability in society, indicating that being called madame signifies a certain social rank. And goon to vigils all by four. So vigils refers to community prayers or services, suggesting that a proper guild member should participate actively in communal religious practices and have a mental royal alliage ye bore. So the final line speaks to the expectation of wearing a royal or significant mantle, highlighting not only their status but also the decorum associated with their roles in society. Now here, a cook they had with him for the nuns. The phrase for the nuns suggests that they had hired this cook for a specific occasion. It sets up the character as someone brought along for their culinary skills to boil the chickens with the marrow bones. So this line indicates that the cook's role involves boiling chickens along with their bones, highlighting his skill in preparing poultry. And poudre merchant tart and gaily Galengale. So powder merchant refers to a spice powder used in cooking, typically for meat dishes. While galengale is a spice, which actually means galangal. That also indicates sophistication in his cooking. It shows he is knowledgeable about ingredients. Well could he know a draught of London ale. So this line shows his familiarity with local beverages, emphasizing his expertise not just in cooking food but also in selecting ale, which reflects the social aspects of dining. He could roast and set, broil and fry. So here's the cook versatility is showcased, as he can roast, boil, broil and fry, marking him as a skilled and adaptable chef capable of preparing a variety of dishes. Making mortiox and well bake a pie. So mortiox refers to a kind of meat dish or broth, while pie indicates his proficiency in baking pies, which were popular in medieval cuisine. And this shows this establishes his competence in both savory and baked goods. But great harm was it, as it thought me. So this line shows a note of tragedy or misfortune, suggesting that the speaker, like Chaucer, feels pity or concern about something related to the cook, that on his shine mormal hate he. So mormal is a festering sore or a ulcer, and this line highlights a physical ailment that the cook has on his skin or on his shin, hinting at poor hygiene or perhaps a metaphor for deeper issues such as social status or personal neglect. For black manger that made he with the best. So black manger is a type of white pudding made with chicken or almond milk. The line suggests that despite his flaws, the cook creates excellent black manger, indicating his talent remains despite his personal shortcomings. Now here, a shipman was there, voyage per by west. So a shipman refers to a sailor or ship captain. Voyage per by west indicates that he lived far to the west, possibly suggesting a connection to coastal areas like Dartmouth. For aught I woot he was of Dartmouth. So for aught I woot means as far as I know, implying uncertainty. The speaker identifies the shipman's origin as Dartmouth, a renowned port town in Devon, England. He rode upon a Runcie as he knoweth. So this means that he rode implies that he rode a horse. Runcie is a term for an ambling horse, emphasizing the shipman's familiarity with equestrian skills alongside his seafaring abilities. In a gown of folding to the knee. So the shipman wears a knee-length gown, which was a type of outer garment. The term folding refers to a type of fabric or style suggesting practicality or functionality suited for his lifestyle. A dagger hang on a lass had he. So he has a dagger hanging by cord, lass, around his neck. So this detail reflects on his readiness for potential conflict or danger common for sailors during that time. About his neck, under his arm adorn. So this line clarifies where the dagger is placed, around his neck and hanging down under his arm. It adds to the image of a man who is prepared and perhaps even has a rough exterior. The hood somber had made his hue all brown. So the hood somber refers to the hot summer sun which has tanned his skin, making it all brown. So this shows his experience in seafaring, suggesting he spends long hours under the sun. And certainly he was a good fellow. So here we see that despite his rugged appearance and potentially unscrupulous activities, the shipman is regarded as a good fellow, highlighting friendship and a social nature. Full many a draught of wind had ye draw. So the shipman has drawn many draughts of wine, indicating a fondness for drinking. This outlines a lifestyle marked by rivalry and perhaps the darker side of seafaring life. From Bordeaux's ward will that the chapman sleep. So he has drawn wine from Bordeaux, a famous wine producing region, and he does that will that the chapman sleep implies that he may engage in dubious trade while merchants are unaware, hinting at a lack of ethics. Of nice conscience took he no keep. So the phrase suggests that he pays little attention to moral conscience. This reflects a character who is pragmatic and morally ambiguous, focusing on survival and success in trade. If that he fought and had the higher hand. So if he fought and had the higher hand, the upper hand, it implies he was skilled in combat, asserting dominance in conflicts whether on land or at sea. By water, he sent him home to every lawn. So here we see that he sent his spoils or any captured goods back to different lands by water, revealing the shipman's role in maritime trade or piracy, giving the impression of a trader who operated outside the law, but of his craft to reckon well his tides. So the sailor is adept at calculating tides, showcasing his knowledge of the sea, which is essential for navigation. His streams and his dangers him by sides. So he understands currents means streams means currents and the dangers that lie nearby, indicating he is aware of the risk associated with sailing. His harbor we and his moon, his lodge menage. So he knows about his harbor. And also we see that the phases of the moon, which is described as moon, which affects tides and the techniques of navigation, lodge menage, reinforcing his expertise. There was noon switch from Hull to Carthage. So there was no one like him from Hull, a city in England, to Carthage, ancient city in North Africa, highlighting his exceptional skills and reputation. Hardy he was and wise to undertake. Describing his character, he is brave as hardy and wise, necessary traits for a sailor taking on voyages. With many a tempest had his beard been shaken. So his beard has been shaken by many storms. Tempest means many storms, indicating his extensive experience at sea and the challenges he has faced. He knew all the havens as they were. So this means that he is familiar with all the harbors along his routes, emphasizing his comprehensive knowledge of navigation from Gotland to the Cape of Finisterre. So he knows routes from Gotland, an island in Baltic Sea, to the Cape Finisterre, a cape in Spain, demonstrating the geographical extent of his experience and every crike in Britain and in Spain. So his knowledge extends to every creek in Britain and Spain, which signifies a detailed understanding of regional navigation. His barge he equipped was the Madeleine. This means the vessel he commands is called the Madeleine, which could imply a specific cultural or historical significance, possibly naming his ship to reflect dedication or reputation. With us, there was a doctor of physique. So introduces the character as a doctor, specifically one trained in medicine. Physique means medicine. In all this world, nay was there known him like. States that there was no one like him in the world, emphasizing his exceptional skills and uniqueness. To speak of physique and of surgery. So he is knowledgeable not only in medicine, means physique, but also in surgery, showcasing his comprehensive expertise. For he was grounded in astronomy. His background in astronomy indicates that he uses celestial observations to inform his medical practice, reflecting the historical link between these fields. He kept his patient a full great deal. So he meticulously monitored his patient's conditions, kept suggesting he invested considerable time in their care, in hours by his magic natural. So he followed specific hours or timings for treatments based on natural magic, which could mean he believed in the influence of the cosmos on health. Well could he fortune the ascendant. So he expertly calculated the ascendant in astrology, a crucial component in diagnosing or treating ailments according to astrological beliefs. Of his images for his patient. So refers to charts or figures. Why images means refers to charts or figures he used to predict health outcomes for his patients, indicating a methodological approach. He knew the cause of every malady. So he understood the root cause of every illness, malady, showcasing his extreme medical knowledge. Were it of heat or cold or moisture or dry. He recognized ailments stemming from various conditions, heat, cold, moisture or dryness, indicating his understanding of four humors and where they
gendered and of what humor. So he could identify where diseases originated and which bodily humor, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, or black bile was imbalanced. He was a very perfect practitioner. Describe him as a true and perfect practitioner, asserting his competence in the field that cause ye know and of his harm the root. So once he knew the cause of an illness, he could trace it back to its origins, indicating thorough diagnostic abilities. Anon he yaf the sick man his boot. He promptly provided remedies or healing boot to the sick man, demonstrating his effectiveness and efficiency as a doctor. Now we see full ready head his apothecaries. He was well prepared, having his pharmacy. Apothecaries means pharmacy ready at hand. This suggests he had a good working relationship with them. To send him drogis and his latuaries, they supplied him with medicines. Drogis means medicines and syrups or remedies. Latuaries means syrups or remedies, highlighting his reliance on these specialists for patient care. For each of him made udar for to wine. So each party, the doctor and his apothecaries, aimed to benefit financially from their relationship, indicating a mutual, perhaps opportunistic partnership. His friendship was not new to Baigny. So their friendship or collaboration was not new, suggesting long-standing professional ties that were based on profit rather than genuine friendship. Well knew he the old Asclepius. So he was familiar with Asclepius, the Greek god of medicine, emphasizing his deep grounding in medical tradition and respected figures, and Dioscorides and Rufus. So he also knew Dioscorides, a physician known for his work on pharmacology, and Rufus, referring to Rufus of Ephesus, emphasizing his knowledge of important historical medical figures. All Pocras, Halley, and Galen. So he was aware of Hippocrates, the father of medicine, Galen, a prominent physician, and Halley, possibly Alhazen or Ali ibn al-Abbas, reinforcing his classical education. Serapion, Razis, and Avicen. So he recognized Serapion, a physician known for herbal medicines, Rais, an influential Persian physician, and Avicenna, Ibn Sina, a key figure in medicine, indicating broad knowledge of both Greek and Islamic medicine. Averroes, Domitian, and Constantine. So here we see that he was also familiar with Averroes ibn Rushd, an important commentator on Aristotle, alongside Damascus-based and Constantine-era physicians, continuing the theme of extensive historical medical education. Bernard and Gates then and Gilbertine. So he recognized Bernard of Gordon, Gatefine, and Gilbert, all significant figures in medieval medicine, showcasing a well-rounded understanding of his field. Of his date, miserable was he. So he maintained a moderate diet, indicating an awareness of health and balance in personal habits, for it was of no superfluid. So his diet was free of excess superfluid, suggesting he practiced the principles he preached regarding health, but of great nourishing and digestible. So his food was nourishing and easy to digest, again aligning with the medical knowledge of the time that emphasized the importance of diet. His study was but little on the Bible. So he studied little of the Bible, implying that his focus was more on medical texts than religious doctrine, possibly indicating a secular approach to healing. In sanguine and in pures he clad was all. So he was dressed in sanguine, red and purple garments, colors associated with wealth and vitality, reflecting his status, lined with taffeta and with sandal. So his clothing was lined with fine fabrics, taffeta and silk, suggesting luxury, indicating his wealth, perhaps his self-importance. And yet he was but easy of dispense. So despite his fancy clothing, he was careful with expenditures. Easy of dispense means careful with expenditures, showing he was wise with money and perhaps somewhat frugal. He kept that he was in pestilence, so he saved what he earned during times of plague, indicating that his wealth may have been derived from increased demand for medical services during outbreaks. For gold in physique is a cordial. This line suggests that gold or money is essential in medicine, perhaps due to high cost of treatment or the idea that wealth buys health. Therefore, he loved gold in special. This means he had a particular love for money, highlighting a critical view of the doctor as being more motivated by profit than altruism in his practice. A good wife was there of by-side Bath. This introduces wife of Bath, emphasizing her social role as a good wife from the town of Bath, indicating her familiarity and standing in society. But she was some del deaf, and that was Kate. So the phrase some del deaf means she is somewhat deaf, which could suggest her inability to hear well. Scathe means that this is a negative trait affecting her interactions with others. Of cloth making, she had switch on horn. So the wife of Bath is noted for her skills in cloth making, suggesting a mastery in her craft and implying that this is a central aspect of her identity and livelihood. She passed him of praise and of gaunt. She was superior to other cloth makers from Praise, a place known for its textiles, and gained. It emphasizes her exceptional skill and reputation in the industry. In all the parish, a wife nay was there none. So this line states that there was no wife in the parish who could match her. This elevates her status among her peers, showcasing her unique position. That to the offerings before hire should goon. This means that none would dare approach the offering plate before her. This could symbolize her authority and assertiveness in social situations. And if there died Cartin, so Ruth was she. So if anyone did approach the offering plate before her, she would be extremely angry. Ruth means angry. This reveals her possessive and vindicative character when it comes to her status. That she was out of ale charity. So the phrase implies that her wrath leads her to be uncharitable. She lacks compassion if she feels slighted, highlighting her fierce temperament. Her cover chiefs full fine were of ground. So her head scarves cover chiefs are described as fine and likely made from good material. This signifies her wealth and taste for quality garments. I dos were they weighed 10 pound. The narrator humorously claims that her head scarves weigh about 10 pounds, emphasizing their luxurious and heavy nature. That on a Sunday were upon their head. So this line points to her wearing these elaborate cover chiefs, especially on Sundays, suggesting that she puts on a show of wealth and status during religious gatherings. His horses were of fine scarlet reed. So the wife of Bath's stockings horns are made of fine scarlet red material, which is a color associated with wealth, vibrancy and attraction. Full straight white tight and shoes full moist and new. So the wife of Bath, her stockings are tightly fitted and her shoes are described as moist, perhaps indicating that they are shiny and new. This shows her attention to appearance and status. Bold was her face and fair, reed of hue. So the final line describes her physical appearance, depicting her as bold, beautiful and with a ruddy complexion. This may suggest confidence and a vibrant personality, adding to her complex character as both assertive and attractive. Now here we see bold was her face and fair and reed of hue. The woman is described as having a bold and beautiful face with a red complexion, suggesting vitality and attractiveness. She was a worthy woman all her life. So she is characterized as a respectable and virtuous woman throughout her life, implying strength of character and social status. House bonds at church door, she had 5. This line shows that she has had 5 husbands at the church door, suggesting a significant number of marriages, perhaps emphasizing her experience and assertiveness without an other campaign in youth. So the phrase suggests that she had no other partners before her marriages, hinting at societal norms regarding women's behaviors and loyalty. Now here we see that thereof needed not to speak as no. The here she seems to dismiss the importance of further discussing her marriages, indicating confidence in her life choices. And thrice had she been at Jerusalem. So here travels to Jerusalem 3 times suggests a devout nature, indicating commitment to pilgrimages which were significant in medieval religion. She had passed many a staunch stream. So this line highlights her adventurous spirit and experience, having crossed many strange rivers, suggesting resilience in her travels. At Rome, she had been and at Bologna. So she has visited important pilgrimage sites Rome and Bologna, further emphasizing her extensive travels and religious dedication. In Galice, at Saint James and at Cologne, mentioning Galice, Santiago de Compostela and Cologne means underscores her religious fervor and suggests that she is well traveled in religious circles. She could much of wandering by the way. So this shows her knowledge gained from wandering and traveling shows her as wise and experienced through her journeys. Then get thoughted was she soothly for to say. So referring to her having gaps in her teeth which might symbolize her outgoing and boisterous character. It suggests a lack of self-consciousness. Upon an ambler, easily she sat. So she sits comfortably on a palfrey, a type of horse, indicating her affluence and ease with her status. Why wimpled well and on her head and hat. Dressed traditionally wearing a wimple and a white hat, which reflects social status and shows a proper appearance for a woman of her time. As broad as is a buckler or a targe. So her hat is as broad as a buckler or shield, emphasizing its size and possibly representing her protective character or social standing. A foot mantle about her hips large. So she wears a large foot mantle, a type of garment which may signify her wealth and importance within society. And on higher feet, a pair of spurs sharp. So her sharp spurs suggest that she was also assertive and direct in her actions, indicating confidence and perhaps a sense of control. In fellowship, well could she laugh and carp. So she is described as sociable, enjoying laughter and conversation, indicating a lively personality. Of remedies of love she knew per choice. So this line reveals her knowledge of love remedies, suggesting that she has experience or insight into relationships. For she could of that art the old dance. So the old dance metaphorically refers to love intricacies or complexities, indicating not only her knowledge but her adeptness in navigating romantic relationships. This video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your exams. Thank you.